Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to our digital show. I'm Jay Puskar alongside Mike Fenner and Kent Urbanski. And gentlemen, week number 12 is finally in the books. The Ravens and Steelers able to get their game in on Wednesday. It certainly wasn't pretty football to watch at Heinz Field, but the Steelers do get it done. They win 19-14. And Kent, what did you take away from that contest? Because it seems like the Steelers' offense really starting to sputter at the wrong time of the season.
Yeah, just a lot of drop passes that I don't know what the issue is there. Whether sometimes I go out in the backyard and I throw the football around with my 15-year-old daughter, and she might drop a couple and say, "Daddy, you're throwing the ball too hard." Well, maybe Ben's throwing the ball too hard to these guys. I don't know. Six drop passes, something like that. It's unbelievable that guys who are making that kind of money and have balls that are right in their breadbasket are dropping them like that. And it's down the road. If they're going to do things like that, it's going to come back to haunt them.
And they were coming at critical moments too, Mike. I mean, some of these drop passes coming on third down. Sometimes it was even on goal line situations that they had to settle for field goals. Or in the case against Baltimore, opening drive after getting that turnover, they got turned over themselves with the interception in the end zone. So, I mean, it's just something that they're just not getting any sort of continuity going.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin was asked after the game what was the biggest reason for the red zone issues going 1 for 4. He said, us sucking. Okay, that was pretty straightforward and simple. But
well, his post games were fantastic though too. I mean, he was really cut and dry. Here it is, and it's been a long time coming since we've heard from coaches with that sort of speak.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to hear that, to say the least. But now I think you have to look at the play calling, the execution in the red zone. Those are two big areas that I think that need to be re-examined, and unfortunately you don't have a lot of time to do that with a very short week going into this matchup against Washington on Monday.
Yeah, and I don't get the play calling there in the red zone either. You have two big guys, Ebron, Claypool, that are, tower above a lot of these defensive backs. Throw the ball up for them to go get it. Why are you throwing the ball out into the flat? As Mike said, some of the play calling there, I don't get it.
Especially when some of those guys on the Ravens defense, I mean, you're talking about second, third string guys. So, I mean, they're not really adapt to facing some of these superior talents like the Steelers had on their side of the ball. But, a win's a win. And Kent, does this team even still feel like they're an undefeated team right now, just the way they've been looking on the field?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're supposed to be playing your best ball in December, and I'm not seeing that right now. So I don't know what the answers are. Whether it's just the weirdness of this whole entire season that's kind of giving teams, throwing them off their game, so to speak, with games being pushed back to move around. Ben even mentioned in his post-game interviews that it's hard to get up for a game when you don't know when it's going to be played. So I wonder how much of that is affecting the team.
And Mike, the fact that they have such a short turnaround, could that actually help them, just knowing that, hey, we pretty much know, keep our fingers crossed, that the game against Washington will take place on Monday evening at 5. They can just get right back out there and try to fix some of those things and not have to worry about a whole week of practice and then the back and forth tug of war of are we playing, aren't we playing, one of those scenarios.
As long as guys are able and willing to catch the football, I think they should be okay, because they are good when they operate in the kind of backyard football sense that Roethlisberger talks about often, where he's like, okay, I'm just going to line them up and I'm going to manipulate the defense at the line of scrimmage. These guys can all play the same receiver positions. We're just going to go out there and chuck it. And like I said, as long as those guys are able to catch the football, they'll be okay. One thing I'm worried about with this team right now, though, is the mental fortitude of playing with the pressure of trying to go undefeated. That's one of the things that, if they had a loss earlier in the season, you kind of get that out of the way. I think Kansas City's had that, where they had that game against the Raiders. They got it out of the way. They're not thinking about 16-0. They're still thinking about the ultimate prize. And you talk to Steelers fans, and I think in the back of their minds, they're like, okay, we're really confident about where we're going, but what about if we have to play the Chiefs, a team they're not going to see this regular season? It seems like that's the one team that's kind of in the back of their minds, and I'm not insinuating that that's what they're thinking about every week when they go out and play, obviously, but it's something to think about. I mean, late in the season, it's like you have all the check boxes, all the boxes checked, but what about that one matchup that could be out there for you?
And Kent, this is a really odd scenario. I mean, it goes back several years when the Patriots and Steelers were battling for home field advantage, and the Steelers finished 15-1, and New England finishing 14-2, and that's where we're at right now with the Chiefs and the Steelers. I mean, Pittsburgh at this point on paper, they've got to go 16-0 and get that home field advantage, even though it's different in 2020 with not having fans in the stands. But Is that a tough scenario for the Steelers to be in if that is what one of their goals to try to have a high seed in the upcoming playoffs?
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want the playoff. You want the bye. You want to have to win 2 to get to the Super Bowl, not 3, or not 1 at home and 1 on the road. And so, there's still some margin for error here with both teams. You just don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I think there's pressure in that for sure. But I still think the Steelers just, they're looking for a championship. I really don't think they're that concerned with the 16-0 season. I just don't feel that they have that kind of mentality.
Well, and that's been the message all season long, too, each and every week when that question is starting to be brought up, especially once they got into the double-digit category of how many wins they've had, is that they don't even worry about it. They don't even talk about it. And that starts with Mike Tomlin saying, guys, it's just 1 week at a time. And at this point, they're just concerned trying to get a game in per week. So that's the least of their worries, is trying to go undefeated. And anyways, we turn our attention to the Washington football team, a team that's below 500. They're still in the running for the NFC East Division lead, and yet they're still playing decent football as of late. And they come into town, and what kind of concerns does Pittsburgh have with this matchup, Mike? Just knowing that, yeah, they got a sub-500 record, but they're playing good football, especially that victory on Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys.
You got to worry about Alex Smith dinking and donking and just going up and down the field in terms of a time of possession. It's something that Pittsburgh's done well all season long. They've kept the football away from teams by their short passing game, by going 5, 7, 8 yards at a time with quick passes. That's what Alex Smith has built his career on, and he's an incredible story. The fact that he's even playing football in the NFL at this point is unbelievable. I mean, it's really going to be difficult between him and Ben Roethlisberger in terms of comeback player of the year. Both, I think, have really great cases for different reasons. Roethlisberger, obviously, with the 11-0 start. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing at his age. Alex Smith, a little bit younger, or actually right around the same age, really. And the fact that he's just even playing is unbelievable. And the fact that they have a chance to win the division. So, honestly, I think the time of possession is going to be a huge factor, that both these teams like to possess the football and throw with that short passing game, quick passing game, and they like to drag out possessions. You could see a lot of 12, 13, 14-play drives between both these teams, and just getting off the field and maybe just making them uncomfortable and getting pressure on Alex Smith could be a big factor.
Ken, how about losing Bud Dupree because of the ACL injury suffered against the Baltimore Ravens? That's got to be a huge loss now, because they lost Devin Bush earlier in the season. Now they lose another great linebacker in Bud Dupree. Yeah,
it is. It's going to be tough, because him and T.J. Watt are such a tandem coming off those edges. But, it's next man up. Alex Highsmith's going to get his shot. And they played against the Ravens without Stephon Tuitt. So you get him back, and, that could take some of those stresses off of that edge as well. So, I like what the Steelers can do. I'm not worried about what the Washington football team is going to come in and do. I'm more worried about the Steelers cleaning up their own game and getting after Alex Smith and putting pressure on him, taking some of that short stuff away that Mike said that he's known to come in and do. So I think the Steelers are a better football team here. They clean up their own game and don't beat themselves, and that's what's key to this win.
They might have to throw 51 times again, though, because Zeke Elliott was completely shut down on Thanksgiving Day. I mean, the Cowboys couldn't run the ball in Washington. There you go. I mean, they've had their offensive line issues, too, and injuries, but still, I mean, Washington completely shut down that running game. So without James Conner, we're assuming still having Benny Snell Jr. step up has to be a big factor as well.
Certainly be nice to see that running game maybe produce a little bit more, not necessarily go 100 yards, but at least make the offense play a little bit more honest and make that defense be unaware of what is going on. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for the insight as always, and thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week for week number 14. Until then, take care.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.